Greetings. This is Scholar Saunders Singh. What's current? Well, two in a row. Tortured musical geniuses. Sly Stone yesterday. Brian Wilson today, dead at 82. They both died at the age of 82. Are they trying to make another club? There was already a 27 club with various musicians, artists, actors, and the like, that just so happened to have passed away or been killed or perished at the age of 27. Kurt Cobain, Jean-Michel um, Basquiat, just to name two of the people that were in the club. Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, John Morrison, uh, excuse me, Jim Morrison, not John Morrison, Jim Morrison. That's the 27 Club. It's a long list. If you go on Wikipedia, if you go on Google, you'll find a whole list of people that died at the age of 27 that were extremely talented and gave, their wares and their lives and their sweat and their tears and their blood to their craft and died very early. So that's interesting. But this is interesting because this is on the other scale. 82 years old. I was just talking about yesterday with Sly Stone. I mean, that's a full life. I mean, could be fuller. He could have had a lot more years. They both could have had a lot more years, but they were troubled. They had extreme amounts of talent. I mean, anywhere you look on Brian Wilson, oh, he's a genius. He's a tortured genius. He's definitely a genius. And he even said at the end, of one of his interviews that he the weight. I'm paraphrasing, but the weight of the word genius is pretty heavy. So he always knew that followed him no matter what. So Brian Wilson, one of the greatest, one of my favorites. I have it in my playlist. At least one song from I think it's I can't remember what album it's from, but I know the single is God Only Knows Where I'd Be Without You. Like that song is it's a perfect song. There's nothing wrong with it. The music is so lush. The harmonies are so incredible. The melody is intact. It's just a great song. I mean, you can say, "Oh well, there's no God." Oh, I thought you didn't believe in God. Well, look at here. There is no God, of course, but it's the expression. It's just like saying "God bless you" or "God bless America" or something like that. It's just an expression. It's not the exact, meaning of the term God. It's the highest expression you can possibly give someone. That's what that means. Yeah. So Brian Wilson, he led a life that was full, in the sense of, it could fill up memoirs, it could fill up TV, movie. I think it was called Love and Mercy. Came out in 2014, starring Paul Dano and John Cusack. It showed different aspects of his life. He was pretty much tortured by his father, and a psychotherapist that called himself a co-parent and the good father in a sense, but he wasn't. It's ironic. He seemed like he was a terrible human being. He used Brian Wilson in a lot of ways and abused him in some ways mentally, and I don't know if he was physically, but definitely psychologically. I think that Brian Wilson, he like so many others, like the first person that comes to mind when I was thinking about Brian Wilson was Ye. Ye seems like that guy. He seems like a tortured genius. He would have been a genius. He fell off from my standpoint of saying that he's a genius when he went against the Jews and the oh my God, what is going on? The FBA, Foundation of Black Americans. He totally lost me after that. But before then, his production you couldn't top it. I mean, there were people that were doing samples and people were doing sped up soul samples and stuff like that. But the way he chopped up certain songs, the way he incorporated orchestration, he incorporated different things, that was special. And it's a shame because he could have been, he has the chance to still apologize legitimately, not that half-assed apology that he gave, quote unquote apology that he gave. But Brian Wilson, yeah, so he's like Ye in the sense of being mentally scarred. I don't know if Ye has drug problems. He may have drug problems. I don't know, but Wilson definitely had drug issues. He had poor habits. There's one instance where he had his piano in a sandbox or something like that. There's another one where he had a smoldering fire and his where he was recording, and he had people dressed up as firemen. And then he scrapped the whole project because there was a actual fire a few doors down, and he said that his mystical, powers, he didn't want to be associated with that fire or something. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm getting all this. My sources, the New York Times. That's the one I first went to. But everywhere you see, I mean, there was a few. I think there was a few places that said that Sly Stone was a genius. I think there was just a few places where they said he was an actual genius. It's been said that his musical talent was extraordinary. He lifted it up, and same thing with Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson lifted up the genre of rock and roll to new heights with his own orchestration, his own French horns, his playful bicycle whistle or bicycle bell or something like that. That's the extent to which his genius actually was reported. But like I said, can you say the same thing for Sly Stone? He was a genius as well. They don't say that too much in a lot of the reports that I saw yesterday. It was in scant amount of reports. But Brian Wilson, oh my God, the tortured genius. He was a tortured genius. He was a tortured genius. I said the same thing for Sly Stone. I said they were both the same way. Died at the same age. It seems like they couldn't fight their demons anymore, and they succumbed for whatever reason. The details are still not clear in both of their deaths. Well, the details are mainly clear in Sly's death. Sly Stone died of COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. He died because he was a crackhead. He's on crack, and I think Brian Wilson was on acid and different things like that. He was tripping, literally. But yeah, so Brian Wilson. I'm gonna see if I can watch the movie. Hopefully, it's on one of the streaming services for free. That'd be cool. Yeah. So I think there is a definite, chasm with Brian Wilson's demise in the canon of musicians, because there's so many people that are easy to say. The G word is so overused now. It's hard to even say who's a genius or not. But it could be like the gold medalists. Could be like gold medalists. There's a lot of gold medalists for different sports. Just imagine how many you have, I guess. I don't know. But I'm trying to reconcile the word genius, because there's so many different geniuses out there, and for whatever reason they are. Like right now, I'm thinking about a producer genius in hip hop. I'm thinking about the RZA. He's a genius. He's a producer and a rapper. He's definitely a genius. There's no question about that. But look who else is. I mean, Jay-Z is a genius. Pharrell is a genius. All these people are genius. And then the Rocks, I think Billy Joe Armstrong is a genius songwriter and a genius guitarist. Jack White, another genius. I mean, it's just so difficult to just pin down the G word, because there's so many different aspects that you have to be. What are the criteria? That's what the question has to be. What are the criteria that factors in and all regarding all of this? When you have a person so dedicated to their craft, to their art, that is just, it just consumes them. I mean, you can say like you know Van Gogh. How I'm saying, a lot. I've been noticing people saying Van Gogh. That's just weird to me. I say Van Gogh. You can correct me if you want, but I say Van Gogh. He was a torture genius. Genius, absolutely. His portraits are so mesmerizing, and the color and and the light and all these different, the composition. You can tell that those are sunflowers. You can tell that there's a starry sky. You can tell his own ear missing in one of his portraits. I mean, that's torture genius right there. When you cut off your own ear and you allegedly commit suicide, that's, I mean, they slowly committed suicide. Brian Wilson and Sly Stallone. I'll never get it. Y'all can get at me for whatever reason. I cannot say Sly Stone. I have to say Stallone. I don't know why. It's so close. Sly Stone. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, and action. All right. No, but seriously, Brian Wilson will forever go down as, you don't have to say tortured genius, just say genius. He was a genius. Sly Stone was a genius. They're both lived full life. I mean, just incredible, extraordinary lives. Not always peachy, not always great, not always wonderful, but they lived their lives, to their extent that they could imagine. That's the power. That's the strength of their abilities. That is it. That's the reality. So, Brian Wilson will forever go down as, a member of the Beach Boys, even though he was kicked out of the Beach Boys in 1982, and he was not part of one of my favorite songs, Kokomo. That's a great song. And it sounds like he would have made it, but he didn't. He had nothing to do with it. That came out in 1988, my birth year. So that's 37 years ago. That was extreme. But he did show up for their Hall of Fame induction. I can't remember what the year is, but that'll come to me. There was a Kennedy Center Awards in 2007, I think it was. He was honored alongside Steve Martin, Martin Scorsese, and others. So I mean, look at them. Steve Martin, genius, comedic genius. I mean, what anybody that does a master class, basically is a genius. It's so loaded. I mean, who is and who is not a genius? There are some people you say, all right, they're not geniuses. They're not that great. They're not that great. They're good, but they're not excellent. They're not par excellence. They're not at that level yet. But let me see. Put a 1 up if you're in the live chat. Just put a 1 up. Let me see who I'm working with. Put a 1 up. If you're in the live, if you're watching this live, I'm just curious to see if anybody's out there, or if this is just for rebroadcast land. Looks like this one's just for rebroadcast land. That's fine. I think that the mental illness, That's always something. Look at Ye. Mental illness. He's got bipolar. I've got bipolar. Does that make me a genius? That's not for me to say at all. That's inappropriate. You don't. Oh, I mean, Ye. He declared himself a genius multiple times and allowed Jay-Z to say, "Kanye, you did it, man. You're a genius." On his album, the Black Album. Um, like, and then Ye says, I'm the college dropout / genius. Like he said, this is one of his many times that he used the G word to describe himself. So that is something to definitely delve into, to explore more, to get a firm grasp of, because it's something that is very important. It's important to know, you know, their lives. Brian Wilson's life, you know, he brought something that was never there. I do know this. Paul McCartney said that he wouldn't have been able to create, or help create Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club's Band, which was number one on many lists, and it still is number one on many lists. It was number one on the Rolling Stones list for a while. In certain eras, it's changed. But Pet Sounds, the Beach Boys, that was a number one album ranking, according to Rolling Stone. So I think, I'm just listening to Pet Sounds. I'm just like mesmerized, because it's just it's so intact, it's so together and so fluid, and you can imagine the palm trees and the sand and the water, and the girls looking around. That's what you can you can imagine. Just listening to those songs, California Girls. Like I said before, God Only Knows. Fun to my daddy takes my T-Bird away. Like, just they seem like they're very frivolous, on the surface, not too deep songs, but they really are. They really have a depth to them, because I mean, listen to God Only Knows. I may not always love you. Like, what? This is a pop song. I may not always. It's always about love. It's all about, I love you, girl. I love you. Oh, I'll do anything for you. I may not always love you. Like, what? Like, that's just the start of the line. That's the start of the whole piece. That's just amazing. But yeah. So he crafted a sound that was duplicated by the Beatles, much like there were duplicates of Chuck Berry. Brian Wilson had to admit, and he made he the pep what am I saying, the Beach Boys, they credited Chuck Berry because with his song 16 something 16, and they credited him with that because it sounded so much alike. Sounded so much like it to his song. So that's a reality that black man's music, white man take. That's the thing. It's like, black man made it, well, the white man perfected it. Like, okay, all right, I'll give you that one. But that's the thing with hip hop. Like, that's the thing. Hip hop. People were wary with, like, Vanilla Ice, and what's his name? I always forget his name. Is it Everclear or something like that? Kid Rock, and of course Marshall Mathers, Eminem. It's like they're imitating, but they can't really grasp the same idea. It's like Miles Davis was asked about the difference between white musicians and black musicians. He didn't say there is a difference in talent or anything like that, just in timing. Just they always go a little slower. They're a little a little faster, something like that. He said he was in an interview. He was just explaining that there's just a difference. It's not like a seismic shift in like different artistic approaches. It's just the fact that they have their own way of expressing themselves, and the black person may have the same expression or a different expression. I think that may be hooey. I think because you'll find out like, oh, that was a black person. I thought it was a white person. Exactly. That's what happens a lot within the hip hop sphere. You think one person sounds like Paul Wall. Paul Wall sounds like he could be a black person. Definitely, he definitely sounds like that. So, Brian Wilson though. Brian Wilson, 82 years. 82 years of troubled genius. The troubled genius. Drug problems and mental health issues. But he was a genius. He made his way in the music sphere. He was able to lay down tracks and recreate sounds and make his own way. He's had, I think, 3 wives, and he adopted kids all by the first name D. He was able to consider the fact that he knew what he was doing, and it's just a shame because it's a real shame because especially because of his father, who there was one instance where he said that his father took out his glass eye and made Brian Wilson stare at his socket for however many minutes or moments or hours or whatever. That's just macabre and weird and strange, very awful. So and he alleged that he beat him. His right ear was damaged almost to the point where he could hardly hear. He had said in some circumstances that it was a childhood running with a bully, and he punched him in the ear. And it said that his father was the one that actually abused him. I mean, look at this. Look at our heroes and heroines that got hooked on heroin, and other drugs. Look at Whitney Houston, genius. She's a genius, genius with her voice. She was a genius, right? I mean, if you want to use the G word, make sure you make sure you mention the late great Miss Houston, Rock and Power. I mean, her signature song, I'll Always Love You. She didn't write it, but damn did she sing it. She sang that song. She sang the hell out of that song. And not even like she just did it. Just went in the studio. I don't know how many takes. I don't know how many times it took her to get to that point where she get and that part. The part, the beat, doomed and that was extraordinary. But you can say she's a vocalist, a genius at vocals. Aretha Franklin, another genius of vocals. Their voice, just the use of their voice, their vocal cords. I'm sure they both wrote songs here and there somewhere, but they're credited mostly for their singing abilities. I didn't do too much research on seeing if anybody else died at 82 years old. You can say they did say genius a lot for Quincy Jones though. They definitely did say the genius, and they have said that for Ray Charles. They said it for he's still alive. Stevie Wonder, he's a genius, which is true. He is very much so a genius. But like I said, that's such a weird word to bandy about. It's a strange word, strange term to really share with people. Because it's so overused, it's so overdone. We get it, we already get it. Oh, he's a genius, he's a genius. Oh, he's a genius. Is he really? Is she really a genius? What are the criteria? I ask again. What are the criteria? Do you have to have this amount of vocal range, or you have to have this amount of songwriting credit, and this amount of use of arrangements and different chords and this different like who's a genius, who's not a genius? We know who's not a genius most of the time. One hit wonders are usually not geniuses. Usually not. Because they say, okay, you made that one song, you went platinum, you're number one for 6, 7, 8 weeks, but where else did you go after that? I mean, what did you do? What did you contribute? And think about the genius of other areas, architecture, orchestras, art. I'm still in the realm of art. Business geniuses. Steve Jobs, the late great Steve Jobs, Rock and Power. Think of Steve Jobs. Think of the fact that he had to come back from his own company that he was kicked out of and just revolutionize it and cause it to be a mega house, a powerhouse of a company. That's genius. He was a genius. That's genius. So if you look at the grand scheme of things, there are certain people that you can definitely say yes, that is genius. Benjamin Franklin, anything Walter Isaacson, Walter Isaacson writes, they're geniuses. Even the battled and mixed bag of Elon Musk, he's a genius. As many companies as he has and runs and can and runs them well for the most part. The best is probably SpaceX or the Boring Company. And Starlink, I think, is another one. He's a genius. Can't really say anything else. I mean, other than he's a complete lunatic and just like jumps all over the place and doesn't know where he's going. It seems, and he's completely devoid of principles in a lot of ways. That just shows how. Like, sadly, we have to say tortured genius. He's a tortured genius. Oh, he's doing not. I'm not talking about Elon Musk, but I'm just talking about in general. Oh, he's doing drugs. He's doing drugs. He's strung out on heroin. Oh my god! But damn, did you hear that album? Oh, did you see that skyscraper? Oh, did you view that how the car was shaped? Did you see the design? Did you see how that company went from maybe $100 million a year to close to $2 trillion a year, or worth or have a net worth of $100 million up to $2 trillion. How is that possible? How do they do that? It's genius. That's in the business world. It's genius. And there's a lot of techies, at least, and that's what I'm glad about too. It's not, we use genius, mainly for scientists. Einstein was obviously a genius. Newton was obviously a genius. Charles Darwin was obviously a genius. Lewis Latimer was a genius. George Washington Carver was a genius. Percy Julian was a genius. These are all geniuses. But we say artistic genius. We say business genius. You almost don't even need the modifier. We talk about scientific geniuses. It's almost like they accumulate enough stats, that they don't need to have a scientific genius. It's like they're already a genius. Come on now, what do you need scientific for? But there's actors. Denzel Washington is a genius. Meryl Streep is a genius. They're geniuses. Hitchcock was a genius. I'm trying to think of his name now. Lubitsch. Lubitsch was a genius. He's a film director. I'm really trying to remember names now. Hold on. Let me make sure I get his name right because I want to make sure I get it. I'm gonna get his name right. Richard J. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Fritz Lang. Fritz Lang was a genius. Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen without an E in the middle. Smoke your Brian. I keep forgetting to tell people to smoke their Brian Wilson packs. We lost the best to ever do it. He said that every time. In fact, in many ways, he was a genius of poetry, musicianship, lyricism, and artistry, and he will be missed. Fact. He wrote the most important song of all time called "God Only Knows." Yeah, that's my song. That's my go-to. I love that. That's like it's a perfect song. It is perfect. Like that should be hit. That should be like wherever he's held, his crypt, or wherever. They should play that like 24 hours a day. They should have a little mini electricity line that plays that song over and over again. I love that song. Such an excellent song. Let me see. Most important song of all time. Now you're using a little bit of hyperbole. It's a perfect song, but it's not. I don't want to say it's the most important song of all time. He sang about the struggles of growing up and coming of age with wouldn't it be not nice? Yes, wouldn't it be nice? Yeah, a lot of people think wouldn't it be nice is like a young, zippity zoodah, like skipping through the field and happy. He's saying, wouldn't it be nice? It's not nice. Wouldn't it be nice if we were, if we were older, that's the difference. That's what people aren't realizing. I got 5 likes and 5 people in here. Sir Rick James, what am I? See if he gets it. But Brian Wilson, 82 years old. Yes, exactly. Rick James said it. Not mad. Yeah. So 4 people in here anyway. But he represented. He knew his contemporaries. He knew his predecessors and his successors, and he still remained himself. That's the thing. Sly Stone, and if I have to buddy them together because they died so close to each other at the same age and they had similar struggles, I'm just trying to make that little bit of a connection. Brian Wilson, he struggled, but he could still remain true to himself. He always remained true to himself. He remained true to his art. Rick James says he influenced McCartney. Yeah, I said that. I said that. He said without Pet Sounds, I wouldn't have been able to write Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. He said that. I said that earlier. But I appreciate you for recognizing that. But yeah, so the Beatles. I mean, it's weird because out of the rock and roll era, we have so many different eras that went through. Like the British invasion was, so many people. The Who, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, everything like that. But American bands, I mean, the Beach Boys, the Doors, how far do you want to go? I mean, do you want to go all the way up to the White Stripes, the Green Day, and Nirvana, and Pearl Jam, and all these different groups? Are they geniuses? That's another thing. Are they geniuses? Gianni, can I get Blue Ranch? Okay. Gianni's trolling. Thank you for the troll. Appreciate the trolling. Thank you for being here. Make sure you hit my Cash App and my Venmo and my PayPal, Gianni. He got heavily brain damaged because of the drugs at the age of 23. I did not know that. I did not read his memoir. I didn't even see the movie, I don't even think. I may have seen clips of it here and there, but I didn't see all of it. But Gianni, thank you for trolling. I'm not gonna block you, but people Rick James has a blue wrench. He can do what he needs to do if he has to do it. That's all I'm gonna say. We're talking something serious now. He was definitely you're missing a lot what I said. You're missing a lot of what I said already, Rick James. I appreciate you though, sir. Thank you for staying on topic. I appreciate it. But I said that earlier. I said that it was either his father or a neighborhood bully in the where he grew up that damaged his ear. I really want the Blue Ranch. It's my birthday today. Everybody forgot my birthday. Well, I don't care about your birthday, Gianni. How about that? F your birthday. How about that? I don't care about your birthday. It's actually the death day of Brian Wilson, one of the greatest songwriters and arrangers of all time. But it's true, Gianni. I don't care. I don't even care about my own birthday. Much less am I going to care about yours. What are you talking about? That's not nice. You sure it isn't? I'm just telling the truth. I'm not going to be like, oh, is it your birthday? Well, we're going to sing happy birthday. He had schizo because of the LSD of the swinging 60s. Yes, I notioned that he was on acid, and then he wrote I think I don't want to mess it up, but he wrote a big song. I think he wrote California Girls. I'm not sure. Please correct my dumb ass if I'm wrong. Please correct me, because it's either California Girls or Fun Fun Fun. He wrote one of those songs on acid. I think my other account is still blocked. Yeah, it is. I don't know how to do. I tried to go through the steps. It didn't work. Sorry, Charles. I appreciate you though. Why does everyone have blue ranch? Oh, you're saying ranch. I'm like, ranch. What are you talking about? I thought you're trolling. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll apologize. I didn't know you were saying wrench. Wrench is because of people that have either given me money or led people to this show. That's why they have a wrench, not blue. I'm like, Blue Ranch. I don't have. I thought you were just trolling. I don't know. Why not me? Well, you haven't earned it. You got to give me money, or you got to give me bodies. You got to give me eyeballs. Yes, Charles. God, I mean, are we the only ones that realize that? I mean, today especially, it's like God only knows where I'll be without. Like that song. It's a perfect song. Perfect song. And yes, again, R.P. to Sly Stone, died at the same age. Both also a tortured genius. He was a genius, Sly Stone. I'm trying not to say Stallone. Look at the colorful clothes she wears and the way the sunlight glares upon her hair. Exactly. I don't know what song that's from, but that's beautiful imagery. That's just great imagery. Money, yeah, the money. You're gonna have to spend at least $50 if you want to, be serious about, doing this. You can see at the top page, my Venmo is scholarized. My PayPal is paypal.me/Scholar Saunders. And my Cash App is $Scholar Saunders 1. Gianni. Yeah, Sylvester Stallone. I'm just stupid. I just keep I'm thinking too fast. My words are going faster than my brain. How about you get out of here? Like, you're not going to be here too long, Gianni. Not with those kind of responses. You're spelling things all wrong. You're saying things all crazy. I'm giving off good vibrations. She's giving me I don't think that's the right words. The intimidation. I don't think so. What's the difference? The difference is you need to pay me at least $50. I play the Beach Boys' greatest hits CD all the time. Great band. I always wonder if these oldies dropped today, if they would still hit. I think they would, but my friends say no. What you say you? I think they would, just because of the fact that they have such a melodic. I think that hip hop or rap music, I should probably say, rap music is very melodic now. There's no R&B. There's the R&B of my era. I'm an old man. I'm shaking my fist off the kids get off the lawn. I'm sitting on my porch with a shotgun and a fan and some lemonade. I say yes over a fact. Yes, I never learned the difference between 50 to 50. Well, there's some wrenches here that know what to do. For people like you. That's all I'm gonna say, Gianni. I'm not gonna put you in timeout. I'm not gonna sit you in the corner. I'm not gonna block you or anything like that. R&B hip hop 60s to the early 2000s. Can you explain? I've already explained it. I'm not gonna explain it again. But yeah, so the early 2000s hip hop and R&B when it was like the last breath of hip hop. Now it's just rap music and it's just a mess. It's just don't put me in timeout. I'm a grown man. Well, act like a grown man. That's all I can say. Act like a grown man. Chris Brown is excellent. There are some good R&B artists around him, but it's not the same. Yeah, true. Like R&B reminds me of rock and roll in a lot of ways. Rock and roll is dead. R&B is like dead, but it's like Walking Dead. I don't know. It's not the same. I do like Kokomo, but the irony is that Brian Wilson had nothing to do with Kokomo. It came out in 1988. Brian Wilson had no interaction, no productive, no writing, no arrangement, no anything to do with Kokomo. But I love that song. Key Largo, Antigo, I was just about to say that. That's crazy. Kokomo was on Full House. Yeah. And John Stamos in the video. Yep. That's facts. That's I keep seeing that's the image in my head I see on Full House with Bob Saget at the starring in that role. Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I wanna take you to Bermuda, Bahama. Come on, pretty mama. Yeah. Scott been riding in LA. Salute to Texas. He's saying go back to Jesus. No, my brothers in arms are fighting there. And they're fighting off the wrong, they're getting trained in this field somewhere. But they'll do anything. They'll do anything to get away from 29 stumps, excuse me. It's called 29 palms, but it's really 29 stumps because it's a base that is almost remote. There's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. There's no shops. There's no town really for I think miles or something like that. I've never been there, but I heard the worst things about 29 palms or 29 stumps as it's disparagingly referred to. Yeah, salute to Texas. Salute to him. Salute to you. I'm going to tell all my friends about you. Well, please do, Gianni. Tell all your friends that I'm a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad person. Don't tell them this guy. Tell them I'm this silly guy that gets on a microphone and a camera every other day. 29 palms sounds like a kung fu style. It does. It does. But yeah, I heard the worst things about 29 palms. They call it 29. They refer to it as 29 stumps. So they're like, hell yeah, LA? Yeah, why not? Why not? Do they have downtime? From blocking, ice. I don't know if they partner with ice. I guess they have to, but I think they're mainly to control the crowds and different people. But yeah, country is coming back, but it's a hip hop country R&B rock blend. I think that's true, Charles. I think that's true. Where can I buy a hat like your? You give me $50, I'll tell you. Brian Wilson's best vocal performance was on Time of the Season. Fact. Was he really? Because that's another great record that I didn't even realize if he was a part of. I was just thinking about that song today. What's your name? Who's your daddy? Exactly. Is he rich like me? How about 50 cents? How about you go take a short trip off a long pier? Or take a long trip off a short pier. I think it's the way. Do you take checks? No, I do not. I take Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. Gianni. And I'm appreciative of the 5 likes and the the 6 likes and the 6 people that are watching. I appreciate it. And we need 4 more people to have a party. Let's get it up to a party. Grab your sister and her friend. See what we can do in these next 15 minutes exactly. But Brian Wilson, like I said, Sly Stone, geniuses, torture geniuses. Like that's like the side point. I mean, you look at John. Well, I'm gonna look it up. Hold on. I'm thinking about A Beautiful Mind. What's his name? John Nash. He died a few years ago. John Nash was a genius. But they have to say, okay, well, he had the psychological issues. That's the tricky thing with films, because when you write films, you want to make sure you have a character that is unblemished. I mean, it's not really his fault. I'm just saying, but it's like they always have to dirty somebody up a little bit for the certain role. Oh, he had a psychological issue. Oh, he was schizophrenic. Oh my god. You know, it's just sad. Okay, you're not spelling things correctly, but all right. Do you have a favorite Brian Wilson song? It is God Only Knows. That's my favorite Brian Wilson song. But it's also a Beach Boys song, but so he had his own singles. I'm not familiar with all of them. One of the mods with 2 left thumbs blocked my other account, Charles Moran. This is the only podcast I watch on this account, so it's always at the top of the screen. Well, I appreciate that, Charles. Thank you very much for doing that. I never went to school. Okay, it's lies. Make deportation great again. Well, there shouldn't be deportation. We should be able to absorb millions of people every year without the threat of being deported. Love and Mercy, fact. Yes, I don't know if that was a song, but I know for a fact that was that would make sense if it was a song, obviously. But the film I want to see. Sky's a damn anarchist. Far from it. Let me explain something to you, Texas. I'm an objectivist from the school of Ayn Rand. I go at everybody, and everybody can take it. You know, for me, I'm not someone that beats up on white people. I'm not someone that beats on black people just to beat up on them. I beat up on them objectively. And whoever is wrong or right, I make sure I acknowledge that fact. He's a white man in America, but I'll never cry over him. Exactly. I can't shed a tear. I didn't shed a tear over Sly Stone. I didn't shed a tear because he was a black man that made his mark in music and had a great career and threw it all away by smoking crack. That's his problem. Gianni. Wes Brandy sitting up in my room, inspired by the Beach Boys. I don't know, Charles. It may have been. I don't know. Could have been. I said I will cry over him, sir. Oh, you will cry over him. Oh, I'll cry over him. Yeah, you will. Well, hey, do what you got to do. I'm never going to cry over him. I'm not going to cry over Sly Stone either. Brandy's duet with Monica, The Boy Is Mine, was inspired by MJ and Paul McCartney, The Girl Is Mine. Yeah. That was a big hit. That was on the charts for a while. That was a big hit. And Monica, this is a side note, is a mortician, if you didn't know that. She embalms bodies and prepares funeral arrangements just as a side gig or a side hustle. Not even like she has to make money, but she just enjoys doing it. She was inspired by her uncle. Questions are at least $5 a piece from Gianni. What's your favorite one single cereal? You gotta give me at least $5 or $10 for me to answer that. You don't have a wrench. You had a wrench, I'll be able to answer it. You don't have a wrench. I always thought it was funny. Tupac has a song, I Get Around, and it always plays back to back with the Beach Boys on one of my old playlists. Oh, that's funny. Nobody care about two hoes crying over a man that's gonna cheat on them. I love Texas. Texas, he cuts it short. He doesn't play around. I like that. No, I do not take big coin. Gianni, I will answer that question. I've already explained. Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App. Brian Wilson, dead at 82. Tortured genius. You got to dirty him up somehow. I mean, for a movie, it should be completely original. I do understand historical films, and I might even be guilty of dirtying up people, but sometimes you have to do that to just show the reality of it. That's cute, Gianni, but I need Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App. I just got a Cash App earlier today. That's my reach. I'm gonna check who sampled. Yeah, those are my top sites on the internet. I guess it's like top number 1 or number 5 is Wikipedia. Number 4 is who sampled. Number 3 is Genius. Number 2 is Encyclopedia Dramatica. Number 1 is DuckDuckGo. So Genius has a lot of inaccurate lyrics, and they stole my annotations. I never had that problem. All my annotations are cleared, and cleaned up. Genius took many of my. Oh, he said the same thing. And credit them to other accounts. Wow, I've never had that problem. I was I enjoyed putting up the song the Beeper record for one of my favorite rappers, Family. He's one of the most underrated, looked at, underappreciated rappers ever. Some of my annotations were removed by Jay-Z. True story. What's TMI? What's TMI, Charles? What was too much information? Yeah, what's too much information? I know what it means, but what is too much information? Like Pac said, F Jay-Z. And Jay sampled him. Does anybody remember that? That was over 20 years ago. What song did he sample him on? I'll give you the hint. All I need in this life is sin is me and my girlfriend. I pretty much gave it away right there. Family out of VA. Facts. Yes, Family is one of the greatest out of VA. It's either VA or PA for the Neptunes. They have the Clips. They had Philly's Most Wanted. They had Roscoe P. Coltrane. They had Family. There's a lot of Pennsylvania and Virginia going on. A lot of Commonwealth. No, Jay-Z is not a biter. He's a writer for himself and others. There's a Nay-Z lyric in Welcome to New York City about his lawyer, and I made a comment about it that was deleted, but it was 100% true. So I want to take that. Gibson is from Virginia. In Texas, Jay-Z, again, is not a biter. He's a writer for himself and others. He says a big verse, he's only big enough his brother. He's big enough to do it. He's that thorough. Plus, he knows his own flow is foolish. He's big enough his burrow. Jay-Z never been the hottest rapper any year he's been out. I disagree with you wholeheartedly. He had 8 summers with number 1 album. You don't get to a number 1 album for 8 summers. 8 summers in a row without being the hottest rapper. I lived in Newport News back in the late 80s and early 90s. Okay, Gibson going back. So you're a grown man. You must be in your 40s or 50s. Late 80s, early 90s, I was beginning to crawl and eat on my own. Charles says Magahadam from Genius stole my annotations. He's cool though. He claims that she started. He's cool though. He claims the site started because he wanted to know what. Yeah, you're exactly right. What Cameron was talking about in his rap. I'm from Harlem. Okay, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it had tons of can connotations. Yeah, I remember that because remember at the beginning it was called Rap Genius. It was just called Rap. It was called Rap Genius. Then they shortened it to Genius. He don't even have a diamond album and biggest album sold six. That's not true. His biggest album sold 5 million. Are you serious? Come on, Texas. Jay ain't. What did Jay do to you? Jay Z is a great ghostwriter that you can't deny. Facts. Look what he did with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world. Still. But Brian Wilson, 82, out of here, back to back like that. That's a double. Let's not have a triple, okay? No, no, no. I don't want the bodies. I don't need the attention. I don't need the attention. No more bodies. Yes, Rap Genius. Exactly. See, Google took them out by posting lyrics right in the Google search. Killed their ad revenue. I have insider info. Oh, whew. Sheesh. Eminem was a better ghostwriter. Maybe that's true. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna say and ride. Jay Z's tip because that's probably the truth. I think Eminem was probably a better ghostwriter for a lot of people. He was a ghostwriter for I think 50. He wrote some of his raps. I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that. I think he wrote for uh his team D12. I'm sure he wrote for many of them. But yes, Charles, back to the Beach Boys. Yes, let's talk about the Beach Boys. Let's talk about Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson was a maverick. He was a man of subtleties and ironies and greatness. He purported to the world. He showed to the world that he could champion the sound that nobody was expecting to come from the West Coast, like the orchestration and stuff like that. They were just some kids surfing. And irony is he never surfed. He surfed one time and he hit his head against the surfboard, and that was it. Here we go. Wait a minute. I gotta address it. Gibson says he and Jazzo pioneered the triple chop speed rhyming style. They used the only area where Jay was better than Nas is chopping. Facts. That is true. Jay had the flow. Jay slowed down his flow because of the fact that he wanted to be heard. He was flowing too fast, and people weren't catching. He was like the J to the A to the Y to the Z to the. No, you're not going to be able to get people to understand what you're saying. But then you come up with from standing on the corners bopping, we dropping some of the hottest flows cars that New York has ever seen, some of the hottest flows rappers ever heard. Like he switched up his entire demeanor. But Brian Wilson, we have to say, was a genius. We don't have to say torture genius. We'll just say he's a genius. He may have had issues, but that's negligible. It's completely. I mean, it's in terms of his health and his mental health. It's obviously credible and important. But in terms of making songs and creating music and making wonderful sounds, that is not. It is completely, unintelligible to say that it was caused by his mental illness. His mental illness drove him to do that. No, no, it was more of a hindrance than anything else. But Gibson still wants to talk about Jay, and I'll repeat it. Jay was clearly better. I like Nas in that area, and in my opinion, I think Nas is better overall. A little more substance in his music. This is true, but is it Uchi Wally Wally or is it one Mike? Is it Black or Lost or Shorty you owe me for nice? I'm messing with you, Gibson. But Brian Wilson, he will forever go down in history as one of the finest musicians ever to lace a track, to start the flow, and Can I finish by something that's totally different in totally different news? Harvey Weinstein was convicted of one charge, and they're waiting on another one. Let me see if they found it. There's jury tensions and threats. Good Googa Mooga. They convict Harvey Weinstein of top charge and split verdict at Me Too sex crimes retrial. Okay. I just wanted to put that out there. But hey, this has been a Brian Wilson show. Respect to that man. I had to do yesterday a whole Sly Stone show. Another genius, another artistic genius, another musical genius. Gone too soon at 82. You know, I mean, it's like it's a weird thing because it's like we're at an air, we're at a time. Son of Sun 90 in here. Salute to Son of Sun 90. Who? Brian Wilson was a producer of various records for the Beach Boys. Brian Wilson's father beat him. That made him depressed and have anxiety going forward. Brian Wilson was inspired by Chuck Berry. Yes, I said that. I said that earlier. He said I said both things earlier, but it was either his father or a childhood bully, and they were so close on one song to Chuck Berry that they had to give him writing credit because it sounded so much alike. Brian Wilson sounds like a punk. He's more like a genius, not much of a punk. But I don't want to end on that note. I want to end on the note of Brian Wilson as one of the greatest sound technicians of all time. Apogechi. He definitely crafted something that was not there, not there. It was like oil in the on the floor on the ground. You know, it's like is this gunky, gooey, black, tarry stuff? Like what do you do with this? Oh, you put it in refineries and you make it into gasoline. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And you make it into clothing. You make it into different household products and stuff like that. Make it into plastics. It's a different thing. It's a totally different thing. Pet Sounds is a great all-time album. Facts. I just listened to a few songs and it's one of the greatest. Definitely. Pet Sounds is up there with Songs in the Key of Life, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club's Band, and Gibson saying what I also said. Paul McCartney was influenced by Pet Sound for the Beatles' next album. Exactly. I learned about the Beach Boys from Rush Hour. Yeah, exactly. Wish they all could be California girls. Exactly. So they're probably playing that out there in the riots. Playing Wish They Could Be California Girls. Yeah, I think I can name my plane on that. I just saying that Brian Wilson is worthy of introspection, is worthy of thought, is worthy of ideas surrounding his genius, and to just peruse through your Spotify, your Tidal, your Apple playlist, your YouTube, watch an interview of him, just to get a sense of what the man who he was and what he was about. All right, that's it for me. Thank you all. Salute to everybody that's in the chat. I will see you probably sometime tomorrow. Hopefully somebody else doesn't die at the age of 82. Or then that'll just be, another musical genius, part of the list. Take care. Part of the club.